to another episode of the TileMoney podcast. My name is Luke Jackson Miller, your host. And today's episode is another great interview. I had my business partner, Grant Canchus, on with me, and we interviewed Nathan Hearn. Nathan is a tiler. He's an entrepreneur. He's a multi-business owner, and he's a young guy with a lot of ambition. I know you're really going to get a lot of good value from this content. Not only did we talk about his tile business, but we talked about some of his other businesses. And I say multiple businesses because a person like Nathan doesn't just stop at one. And one of his businesses right now, he's not making tile money. It's Christmas time, so he's making that ding, 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 Christmas money. He's got a great side gig during the holiday season, and he slows everything down because of the basically the potential to make more money as a business owner and to mix things up and to live and learn and enjoy being an entrepreneur. And if you enjoy those types of discussions, I know you're going to enjoy today's discussion. Listen, TileMoney, this podcast, and our Facebook group, everything we do is brought to you by the TileMoney University. TileMoney University is where like-minded tile contractors, serious business owners are meeting every single week as a group to discuss their businesses, their challenges, their growths, how they can better themselves, how they can better their business, how they can better their communities, how they can lead better, how they can read the numbers better, how they can come to understand how much they should be charging to reach their goals and to set up a legacy business. If you want to learn more about TileMoney University, click on the link in the description of this video or podcast, wherever you're listening or watching this, or just hit me up. You can DM, PM, text me, however you want to get a hold of me. Just get a hold of me. Say, I'm interested in that TileMoney University thing. And we also have one-on-one coaching. I am really enjoying some one-on-one coaching with the members who choose to do that. We're able to, get a little bit more concentrated that way and set them bigger goals. And I'm really excited to be some of the members hitting goals that they thought they might never hit, within this year. But here it's been 2-3 months and they're hitting their goals and they're staying on track and they're seeing the return on their investment tenfold. All right, tile friends. Well, I know you're going to enjoy this interview. We'll talk at you afterwards.
Hey guys.
Good to have you on today, man. So you're over in Oklahoma?
Yeah, and I'll just say that I'm honored to be a part of the show. Like I hear on talk radio all the time, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Right on.
And based on some of the past guests, I'm in rarefied air. I'm in good company, so I'm just honored to be here. I love talking shop and excited to get into it with you guys.
Nice. Well, give us the introduction, where you're at, and kind of also like your early years of, your introduction to the trade.
Yeah. So, I have a very, it's a non-stereotypical tile guy background, I guess you could say. I went to college for music. I got a vocal performance degree. So they taught me how to sing opera. And I learned all that stuff. I worked in churches for a couple years. And in the meantime, while I was doing all that, became a homeowner and was too cheap to hire anyone else to do work on my house. And so that's how I learned how to do it. I was, when I was younger, I was sneaking into my dad's workshop and using tools that he didn't want me to use when I was 12 and 13 years old, doing woodworking and stuff like that. And I've always been curious about just construction and how that stuff came together and how that worked. After I got tired of working at churches, I worked at a lawnmower shop, like all tile guys do in their beginning stages. But that was cool too. I learned how small engines work and machines and stuff like that and how things go together. After that, I started doing side jobs for people. And then eventually it got to the point where it was big enough that it would have been dumb not to go out on my own. And so I did that. At the time, it was a handyman business. I had handyman in the name, and that was great for a while. There seems to be a certain stigma, maybe stereotype about handyman type people. And honestly, that was good because I kind of set myself apart as like, a high-end handyman type person that you could trust to be in your home and stuff like that. And it took probably 2 or 3 years of doing everything. I mean, everything home improvement related, to figure out that I just love doing tile. I love doing bathroom remodels, custom showers, stuff like that. And the past couple years, it's been all that, and changed the name earlier this year to just Very Good Remodel and Construction. And that's all I'm doing. I'm booked out for the rest of this year. I don't know when this is going to air, but this is we're in July right now, I guess. And part of that being booked out for the rest of the year is my other business, which we can get into that too. But it's been a wild ride, and I never thought that I would enjoy something as much as I enjoy doing tile. I mean, it's enriched my life in a way that I can't even comprehend. I mean, I just love it.
Yeah. You're my second interview for the day, and the first one, Montreal, he also bought a home. Well, he was 21. How old? I guess that's irrelevant. But he bought a home at a young age, and as a young man, he had more energy, and that's why he started teaching himself the trades to fix up his first home.
Right.
And that's what led to now, 15 years later, he's actually building homes.
Wow.
So this is kind of speaks to the power of, we all, you said it yourself, like you don't have the typical background story, but we all, got here somehow. When I came up in it, my crew, my boss was like a semi-professional musician, and he used to tour with a band a little bit, and he had the band was I don't know how many guys were on the band, but he had 4 to 5 of the band members still working with him in tile. And so our job site was filled with music every single day. Both, if there wasn't music on the radio, you had guys singing, you had a guy singing the bass lines in one room, and somebody singing the treble, and somebody, making the beats over in the other room. Like we felt we would typically tile the whole house in Tucson. So we would have, 3 to 6 guys in one house working in one day, and we would just make our own music if we didn't have it on. I mean, not me, I've never been a musician, but these guys. But I think an opera singer, tile guy, that's something I've never heard of. So I'm kind of curious to know, what goes into becoming, an opera singer, and, the training. I mean, I imagine there's a lot of commitment to that.
Yeah. It wasn't that I wanted to do opera or classical at all. It was just I was super into music, and I knew I wanted to be like a music leader, worship pastor type person. And those goals have changed, obviously, but it was more of I have to do that kind of to get the music degree, and honestly, I mean, I hate to say this, but I don't know how much that degree has served me. I mean, I learned a ton in college, and I love my time there. I met my wife there. And so it was an amazing experience. I wonder how far along my tile business would be if I would have known from the beginning. But you can't do that. And I'm just glad I found it eventually, because there were plenty of times in my life where I was resigned to working a 9 to 5 for somebody else at a job that I wasn't really passionate about. And so now I'm just, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, or even a few years ago, if I would have ended up here, then I would have looked at you like you had 3 heads.
It's funny how we find the things we love, right?
Yeah.
You stumble upon them, right?
And when I was in the start of my business, I had a couple of tile jobs that just went bad, and I said, I'm never doing this again. Wow. And then, all it takes is a couple of them to go good. And then you kind of get in this pattern of like, you have a couple good jobs in a row, and then you get more entrenched in it. You learn more about it. And it's just become a huge passion now. And I learned a lot of this from the YouTube guys, to be honest. Like I never worked under a tile setter. I learned all of, I think, with the amount of amazing content that's on YouTube these days, if you have YouTube and you have good common sense and you know when you're out of your depth, like you can do some amazing things. And I feel like, I feel like you do have to have a passion for it. I mean, this is gonna sound weird, but I put on tile videos to go to sleep sometimes. Like some of those hour-long Sal videos where it's like tile ASMR almost, where you just hear the trowel marks and the grouting and stuff like that, and then every now and then you'll hear the squirrely voice because it's time lapsed, and it's just one of those things that, like, I never thought I would be involved with something that's that all encompassing. And this is probably going to lead into one of the other things that I would love to talk about if you guys are able to. But I posted about imposter syndrome in the Facebook group, and I've been mulling that over for a while, because you get some of these higher paying jobs, and you see the profit come in at the end of the job, and you just feel like, I've never done that for that. I've never done something that I love for that amount of money, and to be able to, everything's paid and it's all clear, and it's like, I can have this money now. And part of that's just running a business in general. Right. But I feel like the more I've thought about it, the more I think that, I mean, I'm just doing some higher level stuff. Like the good tile guys in general are just doing some, the stress level may be higher. But again, I think a lot of that does come down to the passion you have for it. And somebody who doesn't have a passion for it isn't going to keep going, like we do.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome, I think, is an overlooked topic, but it's something I think everybody, like, people think they don't struggle with it, right? Somebody else doesn't, but I think everybody goes through that in their mind. It's like we don't feel like we're worthy of that for whatever reason, but like, it's something like you're saying, the higher end jobs. I mean, it comes with experience. Like, you can't pay for that. Like for me, for the website stuff, I've been doing it for over a decade now. I'm like, why can't we charge that much? And you go from first website I ever did was like $300. Now in our custom projects, we've charged well over 20, 30 grand for I'm like, this is the same thing. But 10 years later, I see the value. This is pushing, this is what it is. So it's like, you have to dismiss that. And you see other people doing it, and even people doing it wrong, still charging more than, you're like, what's going on here?
Right.
Well, and I feel like sometimes if I don't check my emotions instead of reality, I feel like, because my estimate acceptance percentage is going down, the bigger I build my business. So the number of estimates that get accepted is percentage wise is going down, which is what I want. And sometimes, I mean, that's the natural process of just economics, but sometimes you feel like the only reason this person accepted this is because they're a sucker. Like I found that one sucker, and then you do an amazing job, and it's like they're so grateful for it and thankful for it, and they're happy to pay you that money, because there's so many, like I'm sure a lot of your listeners follow Tile Flooring and Fails, and I love that site. I mean, it's so fun to watch, and I hate tearing down other contractors, but at the same time, it's just fun to see the pictures from all around the world. But it's so prevalent. I mean, I tear out showers all the time. I tore out a year-old shower where the guy used mastic on the pan tile, and the lady had river rocks coming up on her feet when she stepped out of the shower. And the pan was just like some lumber that was sloped down, and they put Quickcrete in it, and it's rough out there. And right. I mean, that's that, you know, that's one thing that I like about the tile game is that you really can really set yourself apart, and it's not that difficult if you're really into the details and you love doing it.
Yeah, and you said it. It's like an art to you, which people don't think about.
Yep.
It's not just a job, you know. It's something, and anybody that is playing at that level in anything they do, it's an art to them, right? They're a
Right.
master at it. I don't care if it's basketball or singing, whatever it is. It's an art, right? They
Yeah.
truly love it for what it
And
is.
it's a finished creative piece. It's like even flooring, you know if it's bad, but you put in flooring or laminate or something, and you see it at the end, and it's like, yep, that's a laminate floor. But you see a tile shower, and even the design overall is one of those things that you walk in and you go, wow, you know, it you can put some of your personality in it. You can put the homeowner's personality in it. Even the millions of different ways that everyone does their niches, you know, stuff like that. Mine tend to be the same, because I'll do jobs and show them pictures of it, and they're like, I want that, you know.
There you go.
And so it's just, yeah, it's a blast. I love doing it.
Yeah, it really shows too, you know, your passion for it shows in your work and the way you know, market yourself and have discussions. This imposter syndrome, you know, and I'm happy to dig into this as much as we want, because this is something that goes, you know, untalked about and maybe ununderstood. You know, I think for tile guys, what it looks like is, you know, and you brought up, you kind of touched on a couple points, you know, like if we're all hanging out in floor and tile fails, or, you know, tile love or TileMoney or whatever group, you know, we're in, or all of them, right? You know, we hear a lot of our peers talk about, like, you know, apprenticeship program. You're not a real installer if you're not an apprentice, you know. Well, let's just take that one, for example. And then, you know, people talk about, like, well, YouTube, you can't learn on YouTube. Well, no, actually, you know, and you mentioned it, Nathan, if you have common sense and good eye-hand coordination, like, there's not much you can't do by slowing down, watching some videos, making some mental notes, preparing your mind, gathering the tools, and taking the steps. Yeah, you're going to be slow, and yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but 20, 30-year veterans in this trade make mistakes every day, possibly, you know?
Yeah.
So one of the ways that I've learned to combat imposter syndrome, and you mentioned it, was to quiet all that noise down. You know, all that noise, it's just noise. It's just people talking. It's just yap, yap, yap. You know, who's buying from you? Focus on them. Who appreciates your work? Focus on them. You know, who's paying your bills? Focus on them, because nothing else matters. You're in business for those people, you know, and that's kind of what you explained. And have you found any other tips or any other, you know, mental fortitude, actionable advice?
So sometimes it's best to just pause and look at the facts.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the facts of the situation. We were doing a mother-in-law suite. It was during the height of COVID, and they were blocked off from the rest of the house. And it was a kitchen remodel, I think, but we were working in there, and they would come in after we had left at the end of the day, and the lady texted me one day afterwards, and she said, we just went and looked at everything, and it looks amazing. You guys are working magic in there and that kind of thing. And my first thought was, and I was working with somebody at the time, I told him, I was like, man, I wonder if she's really happy with it, because if we were just like good contractors and we were just doing the job, she wouldn't feel the need to like give us something like that, like throw a bone, you know. And I wonder if she's not happy with it, and she's just trying to, you know, push us forward in a better direction. And I had to push back on myself. I was like, man, just take the compliment. Like, if they're not happy with something, they're going to tell you. And you know, you kind of have to ride this line of extreme precision versus profits. And I don't care who you are. No tile job is absolutely 100% perfect.
Right.
if you wanted to make a tile job 100% perfect with no difference, no 64th inch gaps or differences here or there, you'd be there for months. And it's like,
well, not only that, but the reality is it's impossible.
yeah, exactly.
Striving for perfection is good, but holding yourself to perfection is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You would be there forever, and perfection is the enemy of great. Perfection is the enemy of accomplishing it with everybody happy. Because if you're just striving for perfection, you're unrealistic.
And it's that dance of like, what are you allowing to be okay? So like, I don't want to say that I learned everything from YouTube. I love the YouTube tile guys, and every new video that comes out, I just eat it up. Yeah. But it's like, what are you willing to let be okay and say that I'm just going to cover it with grout? And my level for that is really high, and it's like I pull a lot of tiles off the wall because I'm not happy with it. I mean, I'll put them up there and say that's good, and then it's almost like a challenge of like, how good can I get it? But then again, it's that dance of like, you still want to be profitable, and so it's tough. I recently did the king of tile jobs of 3x12 herringbone with black grout.
Nice.
And it's tough, man, when you're putting it up and you're like a hair off somewhere, and I mean, you do your best. I've recently used those wall flattening shims from Built with Foam. I love those because the wall was leaning way back, and I was rebuilding that whole side of the wall, and so everything with the wall was perfect. And but then you also have imperfections in tile, and it's like, you see the grout coming through, or the thin set coming through in different spots, and when you're putting it up, it's just like, oh man, this is not good. And then you grout it, and it's like, I can't even see the spots that I was worried about. And then, and especially with everything put together, it's just like, man, I think someone commented on my post and said, I would rather feel bad about it while I'm building it and feel good about it later than the other way around.
Right.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, you had a couple of tile jobs go bad in the beginning. I understand your progression into the trade a little bit. You bought a home, you kind of DIY'd it, you started a handyman business. No doubt you had multiple skills. How did you end up, specializing in, I mean, I know you're doing remodeling now, and I do want to talk to you about the reasons why you're doing remodeling, but it seems like tile kind of sucks you in. It hooked you, how,
yeah.
like, what about tile really spoke to you?
I think I think with the amazing technology that's coming along with, not having to spend years learning how to float walls and stuff like that, I think that's great, and I kind of wish I knew how to, but I've never floated a wall. I do plenty of mud pans, but the barrier for entry on tile, if you're willing to be very detail oriented, was fairly low. And if you're willing to learn, learning how to use the products and just like the support that the different companies have. I've used Schluter, I've used Laticrete, I've used all the different building products, and seems like all the reps are extremely happy to help you and let you know how to do things right. And so, learning how to do that and using the products and just not being stuck in the old ways. My wife showed a picture of one of my jobs to an old school tiler, and he saw the leveling clips and he said, "Oh, he should have done it right. He should have done it right without them." And I'm like, I don't know about that. But that's the other thing I like about staying in the loop is that technology's changing all the time, you know, pre-mixed grouts and leveling clips and different thin sets that are all coming out.
Makes
It's
your
like,
job easier.
yeah, it makes
Yeah.
it so much easier, and it'll last 200 years, you know, if you do it right. And you just have to be willing to learn and willing to change your ways, and again, just do it right.
You mentioned mud floating in Oklahoma. I mean, are you tearing out old mud jobs? Is there
Nope,
no?
I've never seen one.
Got it.
It's usually, of course, there's plenty of drywall.
Durock and stuff,
yeah, there's lots of Durock. But it's mostly just builders putting tile on top of the drywall, pretty much.
Yeah, I want to touch. I'd like to touch on something that Nathan said about those first couple of jobs where you struggled. More, this kind of ties into me with imposter syndrome, with the confidence thing. Like, how did you come back from that confident enough to go charge on another job?
Oh man. Well, I was lucky that I wasn't specifically in tile at the time, because I had a bad taste in my mouth after a couple of the jobs. And I think it was the same for me with any other aspect of business. It's like it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. It matters how many times you get up. And there were still things that I liked about those jobs, and I wanted to really get down into the nitty gritty of why I couldn't finish a certain job or what I was doing wrong. And I think that's where a lot of businesses fail, is they're not willing to figure out what went wrong. They're not willing to, and I think that doing things like that ethically are really important too. There were, those jobs that I messed up on, I wasn't going to charge them for my time. Like, I gave them all their money back, and because that was on me. It's like, I have to do better next time. And so I don't know exactly the progression of how it sucked me in, but I know that I had a couple good jobs in a row, and I was like, I want to build on that feeling. It was almost like a challenge. Like, okay, I had a couple of fails. Like, I'm gonna overcome that. And then I think after time, it just kind of overcame me, and now I've been sucked in completely.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Seems like you had the growth mindset. I don't know if people talked about that, the fixed mindset, growth mindset. Like, you can get better at it. It just takes the time, right? You're not just like, I just suck at tile, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's over, right? It's like, I can learn. I just need the time and attention. And
Well, and that was almost the fact that I failed at those jobs and was able to move on was almost motivation for me, because I knew that there were going to be other contractors that did it, and I was going to be able to be the one that came in and did it right. And so I'm like, because I know there are a lot of companies that aren't tile specific that do tile, and I wanted to be the guy that would come in with the expertise in the area, instead of being the guy that essentially, without being on the job site before I started doing tile jobs, I had to have a couple of bad jobs just to learn. And it's unfortunate. I would do it differently 100% if I could. I would probably have somebody come alongside me or something like that. And I wasn't completely dumbfounded and hopeless at what I was doing, but there were just some things that I was like, rather than tear this all out and redo it, I want you to have somebody qualified to redo it. And these have all been, a few years ago. And so it's been nothing but growth since then. And I've learned a little bit on every job, as we do. And now I'm starting to get into the real fine details, and starting to get really efficient. That was the thing for this year, is just getting more efficient at what I'm doing. The last few years have just been really learning about products and tile selection and design and stuff like that. And now of course, I made money on those jobs, but now I really want to get more efficient and really start trying to make some of that tile money going forward.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about how you have it set up now. I mean, you're a remodel and construction company. What does that allow you to do, and kind of why did you choose that versus, very good tile guy or something,
Yeah, well, I considered that, and I considered having a bathroom in the name, and that seemed kind of icky. I don't know why, um, but I wanted to give myself an out in the beginning of when I changed my name of not doing tile, which I don't ever see that happening. But I just wanted an overarching kind of name,
something you can grow into.
For sure, yeah.
Okay.
And if I ever want to expand and have crews doing other jobs other than tile, I just wanted to have that option. Right now I'm a one-man show. I'm only doing bathrooms and tile remodels. Yeah, I mean the name was just I have listed on my trailer all the services, and on my business card all the services, and it's all just bathroom and tile related.
Mm-hmm.
So usually if people ask for a card, I'll give them that, and it'll be pretty clear on that. But
nice.
I do still get a lot of messages and that kind of thing about what all I do, and I kind of have a preset in my notes app thing that I send them, and a couple of graphics just to kind of explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Smart to list all your services. I think it was like Tom Reber I was talking to the other day, or listening to him, and he said, like, he was a painter, and he painted anything you wanted him to, basically. But he had this one client who used him to paint, interior of the rooms. Well, he showed up to do an interior room job, and here they had one of his competitors doing the exterior. And he said, we do exteriors. And they said, no, we didn't know that. We would have hired you. and then he learned, okay, like you just said, let's list it all out, because, it's not enough to have tile in the name. They don't know, they think you just do showers because you did their shower, and then they're going to call a different guy for the floors. Let them know what you do and don't do. I like that. That's a good tip.
And you can kind of tailor that towards what you want to do the most too.
Right.
I have bathroom remodel really big at the top, because those are my favorite kind of jobs. It's just the all-inclusive, just update everything, build a new shower, floors, paint, whatever. And then I've got stuff on there like heated flooring, curbless showers, because those are a couple things that people don't typically think about when they're thinking about bathroom remodel. So it's just like, it just puts something in their mind of like, hey, those are options. Like having a heated floor is a thing. I've done a few of those, and people are just like, you can't go back,
Right.
we have some mild winters here, and then we have some that are extreme. And especially if you got an exterior wall, it's cool to just walk in there, and it's almost weird. It's just like, you don't think of it as a heated floor, you just think of it as it's not cold like tile normally is. But it's a cool process.
Absolutely. So you mentioned earlier you have did you mention like you have a second business besides this? Did I hear that correct?
Christmas lights.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were going to talk about that. That's your winter business.
That's the other thing that all other tile guys do, right? Is they have their tile business and they have their Christmas light business. No, when I as I mentioned earlier, I worked for a lawnmower shop for about 5 years, and most lawn guys will do lights in the winter, and that's where I learned how to do it. And it was also a way when I first went out on my own, because I was nervous. I didn't have a ton of money in the bank. I had a regular job. I had 2 kids at the time. The budget was pretty tight, and I was like, I think there's a lot of potential in me starting my own business. And Christmas lights was something that like I know I can make a lot of money in a little amount of time, based on what some of these lawn guys are doing. A lot of firefighters do it because they work 24 on, 48 off, and they're good with ladders. And so a lot of firefighters do it. But that's where I learned how to do it. And we essentially cut it off of a 1,000-foot spool, and they pick their color. We find a power source, and it's all LED. It goes quick. So we only, need one outlet. You don't have extension cords all over the roof like in the old days. And I was astounded at how much I could make doing tile. I was flabbergasted at the demand for Christmas lights. And because when you first think of that subject and the idea of someone coming to your Christmas lights, there are some parts in the country that it's like, what? Like that's real? Like other people come and hang Christmas lights? And then you get into the business and it's everywhere. And it's crazy the demand that happens. And another thing that's great about it is it's recurring revenue. And, you have a certain amount of people that you do reinstalls for. Some of them move away. Some of them can't afford it this year or whatever. But, you have a certain amount of revenue coming in.
Wow.
At that part of the year. And the other great thing about it is I make enough money during that time that I feel good about taking a couple of weeks off during the middle of December. And because I'm really go. Like I
that's your urine bonus, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the whole like hustle mindset, 7 days a week, no matter what, go. But at the same time, like when I'm working, I'm working. So, those 5 or 6 days a week that I do work, they're very, head down, getting stuff done. And, so about the second week in December, at that point, it's usually not worth it to only have it for a couple weeks. And so, we take a couple weeks off and do service calls and get ready for takedowns in January.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, are you hanging the Christmas lights and then bringing them home?
It's turnkey.
Okay.
So
wow.
I buy everything, and a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but probably most of the homeowners, I've never even met them. Like we'll go and hang their lights while they're at work. They'll pay the invoice online, and they'll let me know if they have lights down or anything like that. But we custom cut them, we hang them, we provide everything, and then we come back in January and we store them in a storage unit, and we're back the next year. Cool. It's essentially just we just consider it like an all-inclusive service. We don't really sell the lights. We own everything, and essentially it's a lease.
Got it.
We put them up at their house, take them down, and they know that I'm paying this amount to have our house look amazing with these color lights from, whenever to October to end of December. And honestly, I really honed in on my Christmas light business before I started to get into the details of my tile business. And I pulled a lot of the main concepts from my Christmas light business into my tile business. And one of those is that we get so many leads coming in middle of October, early November that, we probably get, I'll have a message come in. I'll send them a little welcome message and say, hey, this is our starting price. This is kind of the average from last year. Some of them can go into these amounts depending on the house. And, probably half of those are scared away, get sticker shock or whatever you want to call it. Out of those half, they'll send me their address. I'll measure the roof line, give them a custom estimate for their house. I'd say probably maybe 2 of those get converted into a sale. And so and those are really good numbers. Probably 1 or 2 out of every 10 leads for Christmas lights. And I've tried to push that into my tile business area, because I used to feel terrible about not getting estimates accepted, and I just realized that I can't, like, I have to be able to say no to stuff.
Right.
And whether that's out front saying no or saying no by my price.
Right.
And that's and at that point it just becomes a number game. So it's like if I'm only getting 1 out of every 10 accepted, that means I have to get a certain number of leads to fill up my day, to fill up the schedule, to fill up all the number of spots that I have for new lighting customers. And it's kind of the same with tile. I probably have, I obviously have less leads coming in, but I'm still trying to be at that low estimate percentage number, because I want to ride that line of like making a good living doing it, and being able to take my time and do the job that I know, get what I feel like it's worth, essentially, versus not leaving money on the table. And so you start compromising on what your prices are, and then all of a sudden you're playing this mental ping pong of like should I recut that, or I gave this guy a good deal, so he'll be fine with that. And so that's kind of, that was the whole reason I wanted to even bring up the Christmas light thing, is because there are a lot of parallels with running my Christmas light business and running the tile business.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you did. And I agree. Grant and I agree, that business is business, and I've said it a bunch on this podcast. The reason I wanted TileMoney podcast was to really attract the tile contractor. But the fact of the matter is, before a TileMoney podcast, there wasn't a tile business podcast. Guess what?
Yeah.
I might have been listening to a Christmas light podcast. I might have been listening to a real estate podcast. I might have been listening to a food truck business podcast. It didn't really matter. The concepts and the, like you said, the fundamentals were going to transfer over to a tile contractor business.
Yeah. And it's beneficial sometimes to listen to somebody outside of it, so you get different ideas. I love to spawn new ideas off different industries. Right. You're like, how could I translate that into this? Oh, that makes sense. So.
Well, and I feel like the bigger my business grows, I feel like the Christmas light business is going to kind of lead the way for the things I do with the tile business, because I'm going to have to hire for the Christmas lights thing, because we've got so many recurring customers that our reinstalls are almost going to take up all of October.
Wow.
If it's just me and one other guy. And so I'd really like to, have crews that are doing the reinstalls, or crews that are doing new installs. And I'm going to have to do that with Christmas lights before I do it with tile. And to be honest, this is kind of a pivot now to hiring for a tile business. But to be honest, I don't know that I want to. It's similar to, I think it was your 200th episode that you talked about Mike Moreno, and he was, didn't really want to hire anybody, just wanted to do the work. And I have dealt with subcontractors in the past, and sometimes it turns out good, sometimes it doesn't. But I just really enjoy having that relationship with the homeowner. They see me every day. I'm doing the work. And again, that's just for me. That's my perspective on things. There's nothing wrong with guys who are general contractors or are selling jobs and then hiring them out to different people. But talk to me next year and I may have a whole different, different perspective on it. But just for now, it's like, I want to nail down and get absolutely certain that I know what I'm doing in the business. And then, who knows? I may hire people to do tile for me. I may get into
Yeah.
real estate and, work on my own homes instead of working on other people's houses. I've considered doing that. But for now, I'm just enjoying doing the work. I'm in my early 30s. And so, I've got 30, 40 years left to figure out, really get everything honed in. I don't have 30 years left in my body if I'm going to be doing tile.
Well, you might. I mean, it kind of sounds like you got the thinking right. I mean, earlier you said, I don't subscribe to the hustle mindset.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it at my pace. And, I mean, honestly, like, I guess that's something you never know. When I was 20, I felt invincible. When I was 30, I started realizing I wasn't invincible. By the time I was 35, I knew I had to make a plan quick because I really abused my body as a production worker at 17, 18, 19 through 25, really. But I like that you're saying, you know what, I'm not going to subscribe to the hustle till, fake it till you make it, hustle hard, 7 days a week. There are times when, as business owners, we do understand we're going to have that season of life, of business. And, but then you're taking control of it by saying October's my Christmas lights. So you probably don't book a lot of, tile jobs.
Nope. Zero. That's another thing. That's another thing I love about it is it's a change of pace. I get outside and it's when the weather's nice. The last few, Christmas seasons, it's been in the high 50s, low 60s. And, we're out there in short sleeve shirts hanging Christmas lights and it's a blast. And, and I just love that business. I love everything about it. It's very profitable. And they've got really good, reps to get all the materials and stuff like that. And, it is a nice change of pace.
Cool.
And it's cool to be able to, I only have to worry about booking tile from, February to October.
Right.
And, I still get leads coming in all through Christmas light season. And then a lot of times I can get a few months of the next year booked out, months in advance. Nice. And that's one thing I love about bathroom remodels is like, it's usually never, it's usually never like it needs to be done right away. Yeah. It's just something that it's old. We want to change it. Even showers that leak, people let them go. People let them go sometimes years before they even call me. Yeah. And, so it's usually not something's on fire and we need to have this done. Usually people are willing to, do their homework and figure out the right person for the job and then, get it on the schedule a few months down the road.
Yeah, nice. Definitely. I think an important thing you kind of said is that internal dialogue about determining what you want for yourself success. There's so much outward pressure, especially being in groups, reading stuff online. It's like success is driven, like people are driving a Ferrari. They got this, whatever. But what is your actual, certain things that I want to spend time with my family, whatever that looks like, right? I want to work 4 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever. I want to take off 2 months a year or something. So a lot of people never take that time to actually reflect on that.
I'm fascinated by the concept of just like if then statements or like
right.
So you build a business and you get a lot of money, like then what? And what does that get you? I saw a meme the other day that I wanted to bring up. I have it right here. It says, I want to be rich means 1, you want to get rid of the alarm clock. 2, you want to leisurely spend time with people you love. 3, you want to stop worrying about the rent or whether you can buy healthy food. 4, you want to be able to help. 5, you want to do more of what you love. And I love that because it's like, we're not just like greedy people that just want to get all the money and be able to just buy whatever we want. It's like, we're trying to make money so that we can spend time with family, so that we can like give money. I want to give to stuff that I believe in. Yeah. Not to get religious, but the story of the Good Samaritan wouldn't have happened if he didn't have money, you know. And I want to be able to, you know, give back to things that have helped me. And you know, that's you always have to like define why do you want to build a business, why do you want to make more money, etc. Because I could probably, I could probably double my revenue and not take much more home, and say that I have a such and such dollar business, just for the pride of it, but I don't have any interest in that. And I'm not saying that people who that's their goal to make revenue more are evil or anything. But I'm always thinking, like, you know, I'm doing this so that I can do what, so that I can do what, so that I can do what. I think there's a misnomer that people who make a lot of money, they just do it so they can go, you know, sip margaritas on the beach. Yeah. And I think, you know, you do that for 2 weeks in a row and you're going to be bored, and you got to have a purpose and a thing you're driving for. But Grant, you mentioned something about the groups, and I just want to say that, dude, the TileMoney Facebook group is one of the most uplifting Facebook groups I've been a part of, and I think that you know, your personality and the way that you deal with things, Luke, is a big part of that. Being a part of some of these Facebook groups is vicious, man, and it's just like one of my favorite quotes is comparison kills creativity. And one of my other favorite quotes, actually, and this really applies to Facebook groups, is never take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. And I saw that, and I don't know, I probably saw it on a meme page or something, but I saw that and I was like, man, there's some things that are internalized in you for a long time, and then you see them and you're like, oh my gosh, somebody just put that into words in a way that I couldn't, like, so simply. But I think that's something to keep in mind for all the people who are on all those groups, because there are a lot of people there who just want to stir up trouble and who've never tiled a day in their lives.
Yeah, Luke's group is there, you know, uplift. I don't know the other groups, but uplift is to help uplift everybody. The trade itself, the business owners, obviously, to help make more money for themselves or charge what they're worth. Imposter syndrome, all that stuff comes in. So it's, you know, there's something to be said about actually caring and helping other people.
A high tide raises all ships.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
It's I love all that kind of stuff. That's just good for the business overall. I'm always trying to think long term. In any area of life, but especially in business, there are things that you put into motion that you're not going to see the fruits of for a long time. There are some jobs that are like, I'm just gonna call this job a loss because I want to get that saw that's gonna make the next, you know, 10 years of jobs way easier. I just got 2 Grabos and that hurt. I mean, they're not cheap, but I used them on a glass panel on a recent job. And it was like, man, I should have done this a long time ago. I didn't think about the cost anymore. I think that's the one time that you complain about all that that high cost stuff is the time you buy it. But in it, you know, as long as it helps the business and you have the margin to do it, you know, it's one of those things that, like, how far can you pull back the arrow before you let it go? And I'm always thinking about that, and the further you pull it back, the further it's going to propel you. And it's kind of a, you know, pleasure delay kind of thing, rather than just trying to get the money and put it straight into the bank account. It's like investing in the business. That's a big deal to me.
I love your mindset on that, Nathan. And the fact is, you know, you've really weaved in a lot of good mindset, business, you know, thoughtful, you know, things that will eventually, you know, like you said, sometimes some of this stuff takes years to pay off. You know, buying an expensive tool, you don't see that return Well, you might see it on day one, carrying a glass panel, you're going to see that return right away and realize that. But the more glass panels you carry and the more large tiles you carry with those grabbles, the more you're going to stack that ROI. And I really appreciate what you guys said about the Facebook group. I really do. I have to say though, like the Facebook group is that way because of the people in it. We have so many people willing to volunteer their time and energy and share their business insights. You can search my name in there, and I'm not one of the most prolific or
Common people,
common commenters. I don't make a lot of content there because frankly, and I remember somebody once told me you should put your face on the on the thing. And I thought about it. It just didn't sit right for me. It's not about me. It's about us. And,
well, you've got the mustache on there, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I've got, I do some branding, I got the mustache and stuff, but I've been moving away from that on a lot of my branding because I'm thinking 10 years. I'm thinking who's going to be on the mic next, because I want TileMoney to be there long-term. So it is going to gradually be less about the mustache, even though like I got the background right now. But the point is, if it was just me, yeah, I had a nice little business, and it was growing. But now we've made it about all these other people. They have big businesses, small businesses, Christmas light businesses. They have all kinds of things to share. and so, that's really, the thing is I only reason I say this is just I really thank the active members of that group in the community like yourself jumping on here, sharing everything you shared. And I really appreciate your time today. We're coming up in an hour. Can you believe it? Like that went by really quick.
Yeah, it did.
And we really appreciate getting to know you, Nathan. Where can folks find your work? Are you on Instagram, TikTok? Where
yep. I'm not on TikTok yet, but I'm thinking about it. It's just, man, I wish I had more time to make content. I have considered, that's the one thing I have seriously considered is hiring a content guy to just follow me around like a D-Rock type person. Yeah. And just be like, hey, you got to do this many TikToks a week. You got to do this many Instagrams, Facebook posts, whatever. But I'm pretty active on Facebook and Instagram. It's just a very good remodel. Should be able to just search it and find it pretty quickly. And you can see all my work on there. I wish I was more active. I probably post once a week, something like that. And I wish I had time to do it more. But I'm just out there slinging tile,
Nice. Well, Nathan, we really appreciate, unless Grant has one more thought or anything.
I don't. It's been great. I love the mindset, all the quotes, all that stuff speaks to me. I know personally, at least. So it's great to hear that from somebody else as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. You've had a lot of very, what's the word? Very eloquent speakers on lately. So it's probably good to have somebody like me come on and kind of balance it out.
No.
Sometimes it's hard to get what's in my brain out. And, I don't do podcasts. I don't speak for a living like you guys, but it was cool to be a guest on. And like I said, I was just honored to talk to you for a while.
Right on, brother. Well, we appreciate having you and enjoy your weekend and stay in touch. I'm looking forward to continuing to see your posts and see your business grow.
Yes, sir. Let's do it again.
We'll do.
All
right.
All right, Grant. Well, that's about it. I really enjoyed talking to Nathan. Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot here and ask you, and I'll give you a minute to think about it. But what was your number one takeaway from that conversation? Mine was really, again, I just really like, I like that quote where he quoted the Bible, the Good Samaritan. Yeah. I was raised fundamentalist Christian myself, and I know it well. It's something that a lot of Christians or a lot of people don't realize. Like the Bible has a scripture and multiple scriptures that says, the root of money, the root of evil could be the love of money or is the love of money. Right.
Sure.
And sometimes that's what we focus on. But I really like the fact he said, if that Good Samaritan didn't have some money, he wouldn't have been able to help that poor soul who really needed a few days of care. So let's not forget that we're in business to really, collect money. Yes. Mm-hmm. but what can we buy with that money? Who can we help? You know, the community, the employee, the homeowner, you know?
Yeah.
So that was one of my takeaways. You want to share something?
Yeah, sure. But I mean, yeah, like you said, money has utility, right? It's like some of the most philanthropic people, obviously, they're some of the richest people in the world.
Right.
People look at rich people as if they're evil or
Right.
whatever, that, you know, some type of animosity. But even within a church, I feel like the people that have the most control over the church, I've heard this from a preacher, are the people that have the most money, right? So they're going to point the church. So separate from that, I really like to talk about the imposter syndrome. And to me personally, it comes back to a confidence thing. At least when I reflect myself on, why couldn't you charge more? Why don't you believe in yourself or trust yourself to do this? You know, that kind of thing. I think a lot of people struggle with confidence no matter how far along they are in their business. And for Nathan to be able to have those first couple of jobs where he struggled and not give up and have that growth mindset to like, I'm not that good at this yet. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I can learn to get there. And he actually strived for that. Obviously, he found a love with tile, and that's going to speak to a lot of people in your community. But that, you know, that need and want to get better and continue to elevate himself. And still to this day, he's still doing the same thing, just wants to get better. And at the end of the day, that translates into happy clients, which that's the whole goal of the business in the first place.
Tile friends, please stay positive out there. There's so many opportunities out there for business owners, for entrepreneurs, you know, and above all else, please stay profitable, Tile friends. All right, over and out. We'll talk at you next week.